So this was my experience with Hollywood waxing at 45. A few months ago, I decided to try something that I'd never done before. And I wanted to do it in 3 different countries. So I did it in Australia, in France, and in Iceland. It's called a Hollywood wax. Now, the question is, why did I decide to try this at the ripe age of 45? Well, I had 2 reasons. One is because I've always been curious about what it felt like. And secondly, after doing a lot of laser hair removal on my legs and under my arms, I noticed that the hair that grew back was much finer and lighter than before. So I thought, well, now is the time to give it a go. Now, let me tell you, my imagination had conjured up all kinds of images of what this might be like. And so I had quite high expectations, let's just say that. But none of those images could have prepared me for the actual reality of what happened. When I finally went through with it, my first appointment was in Australia in a professional salon. I'd actually booked in for an appointment with a beauty therapist that I knew because she has a great reputation. And I had told her that it was my first time. And she had said not to worry, she would go slowly and make sure that I was comfortable. Now, one thing that shocked me about going to a professional salon for the first time was the price. It cost me 80 Australian dollars. That's around 50 US dollars. Now, it was quite painful. I guess that's to be expected, and I won't go into all the details here, but suffice to say there were definitely some uncomfortable moments. I suppose I should have asked for some pain relief beforehand, because afterwards I really needed some. When it was all over, I looked down and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was almost like nothing had happened, and yet at the same time, everything had changed. I mean, it was almost like looking at someone else's body. It was so shocking. I remember standing up and walking out of the bathroom and feeling a little bit dizzy. And then suddenly I burst into tears. I don't know if it was because of the shock of it all, the pain, the fact that it was over and it had gone so quickly, or maybe it was just the sudden release of tension that I hadn't even realized that I'd been carrying. But whatever it was, I felt this overwhelming sense of relief, and I knew in that moment that I would never want to go back to how things were before. The next day, my skin was really red and sensitive, and so I started using some aloe vera. And then after that, I used some oat and shea butter cream. Now, full disclosure, I'm not usually one for these kinds of products. But I'm glad that I used them because they really helped soothe my skin. And I found that the redness went away pretty quickly. And after a week, my skin had completely returned to normal. The whole experience left me feeling really confident and happy with my body. In fact, I felt like I had a new lease on life. It was like a weight had been lifted, both literally and metaphorically. From that point on, I became a regular at the salon. I kept up with the waxing every 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how quickly my hair grew back. And then I moved to France and thought, well, I'll find a new salon here and continue with my Hollywood waxing routine. But the prices in France were even higher than in Australia. It was more like 120 euros. And honestly, that was way too expensive for me, and so I decided to start waxing at home. And then eventually we moved to Iceland and I stopped waxing altogether, because it was just too cold to do it. But now we're back living in a warmer climate and I've started waxing again. So what's the difference between a Hollywood wax and a Brazilian wax? Well, a Brazilian wax is basically the same as a Hollywood wax, except that with a Brazilian wax, the hair is only removed from the front of the vulva. With a Hollywood wax, the hair is removed from the entire area, including the sides and the back. Basically, it's like a full wax. You get all the hair removed from your lady garden, including the outside, the inside, and the back. And it can be done with hard wax or with soft wax, and I've tried both. And honestly, I prefer the hard wax because it doesn't stick to your skin and it is easier to remove. But here's the thing, guys, it does hurt. And let me just tell you, it hurts like hell. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. So if you're thinking about getting a Hollywood wax, just be prepared for some serious pain. The second thing that you need to know is that it is not a permanent solution. Like any other form of hair removal, the hair will grow back. But with a Hollywood wax, the hair tends to grow back finer and lighter, and it also grows back in the same pattern as before. So if you've got a big event coming up, like a wedding or a honeymoon, it's probably not the best idea to get a Hollywood wax right before that. The hair will grow back before you know it. In terms of what to expect at the salon, well, I can't really help you there because my experience has been pretty consistent across different places. The whole process takes less than 30 minutes and it's really not that bad. The worst part is definitely the waiting while the wax dries. That's when the pain starts to kick in. But once it's all over, you'll feel like a new woman. I promise you that. As for doing it at home, well, let me just say it's not for everyone. It's a lot harder than it looks, and if you're not careful, you can really mess it up. If you're thinking about trying it at home, just make sure you watch a tutorial first and follow all the steps carefully. What about using a depilatory cream? Well, I've tried that too, but I found that it doesn't last as long as waxing. And it also doesn't remove the hair from the root, so the hair grows back within a couple of days. For me, waxing is the only option. Here are some common mistakes that women make when it comes to Hollywood waxing. First of all, they often wait too long in between appointments, and this can make the hair harder to remove. It's much easier to wax when the hair is short and fine. Secondly, some women try to save money by getting their wax at home. This can be a big mistake, because it's a lot harder to do it yourself. If you're not careful, you can really burn yourself. Thirdly, some women don't take the time to prepare their skin properly before waxing, and this can lead to irritation and ingrown hairs. Make sure to exfoliate your skin and moisturize it well before getting a wax. And finally, some women don't know what to do after a wax. Aftercare is important, so make sure to use some aloe vera or some other soothing product after you get your wax. So would I do it again? Absolutely. I love the feeling of being smooth and hair-free. It's so liberating. And what about my body image after the experience? Well, let me just tell you, it's completely changed. I'm more confident and comfortable in my own skin than I've ever been before. I know that I am beautiful no matter what. If you're over 40 and you're thinking about giving it a try, I say go for it. You only live once, and it's definitely worth experiencing. But be prepared for some pain and some discomfort. It's not always an easy ride, but trust me, the end result is totally worth it. And here's what I recommend. If you're going to a professional salon, bring some cash to tip your est, and if you're doing it at home, buy yourself a good wax kit. Don't try to cheap out because it's not worth it. Well, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed my story. Please subscribe and leave me a comment below to let me know what you think. And I'll see you next time. Bye.